Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Girlfriend, We Got You. I am your host, Melissa Marie, and this is my lovely, brilliant co host, Ashley Allen.
Hey, Mel.
Hey, so today we're going to discuss and title this Parenting of Gen Z Kids.
This topic is terrifying to me.
I know. Well, it's terrifying being a parent of this.
Oh my God. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure parents before us said the same thing.
Oh,
However,
yeah.
however, like my daughter looked this up because our kids are pretty much Gen Z. With the exception of my son, who's a little younger, so he's considered Generation Alpha, which we were just talking about. Your son, Carl, also seems to have some Generation Alpha traits as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, but we were looking at it. My daughter was like, "Did you know that Gen Z is the most controversial and diverse generation of all time?" And I was like, I think I rolled my eyes so hard that they almost got stuck. I was like, okay, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I hear from Caitlin, Mom, we're the best generation because we're the ones making the real changes. So I get from Kate.
Look, I believe it. I believe they're gonna, well, I don't want to say real. I want to say probably they're the ones that are gonna push the most.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
because I read this thing that said something about why aren't millennials buying homes and having more children? And it was like, because we can't afford it. You don't want to pay us properly. Like, I mean,
Oh, my
it,
gosh.
it was crazy, like all these statistics coming out and stuff. So my daughter makes fun of me because I'm technically a millennial.
Yeah.
And she makes fun of me a lot for that. And she just thinks her generation is superior to all the generations.
Oh, yeah, my daughter does too. Absolutely. And I'm Generation X. So I fall onto the higher end of you. So it's
Yeah.
like I am, and we're known as the generation with the most debt. I'm
Oh my God. Well,
serious because
oh, it's so funny.
we started, our college years and going through life with a recession. And then, like,
Oh,
we're the ones that, really wanted to make it big. But we wanted it now. We're the generation that wanted it now. So we started piling up the debt. So, financing the homes, financing the cars, having credit cards, all of that. We're known as that generation.
well, that's because I feel like you were very pressured to have that dream life. And if you didn't have it, then um, you weren't doing something right. Something was wrong with you.
Oh, absolutely. Because our generations, like my mom's generation is the baby boomers. And
Mhm.
so that was a very, very hardworking generation with very high expectations. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of millennials saw that and was like, fuck that. Like, I am good with paying rent until I die, and then nobody's gonna worry about it. Nobody gonna live on
Right.
my rent.
Right.
I don't know. Something happened. I don't know, but something happened where millennials took on that mentality. And it's funny because I remember somebody saying, it was an older gentleman, and I remember years ago saying, like, oh, millennials think things should just be handed to them, blah, 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 and shouldn't have to work for nothing. And I got really irritated, like it triggered me. And I was in my 20s at the time, and I had told him, I said, no, we just think it's stupid to try to kill yourself. Why can't you have balance? And he was just like,
Right.
looked at me like, what the hell? So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Because
just,
we are the generation, like my generation is the one that was like working 80 hours a week, killing ourselves to make the American dream.
it's so
So
true. And
it's true.
I saw that with my boss too, because he's in his like mid to early 40s, and he had made a comment, and I said, I'm sorry. I go, I'm not going to be a slave to this place. That's just not going to
No.
happen for me. And he's just like looked at me and I was just like, yeah, no, that's not healthy. Like, we shouldn't have to do that.
No.
And
And you know
so
what though? It's not healthy. And I'm actually glad that your generation came in and took a stand on it. To be honest, I think it's wonderful.
I thank you. I do too. So it's
I
really,
do.
a little unnerving whenever these Gen Z children now get all up in arms and they're like,
I know.
y'all didn't do shit. Y'all just fucked up the world. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I'm like, wait, I'm on your side. Like what?
Oh yeah.
So
My
yeah.
It's funny. And it's my daughter is very strong like your daughter. And it's like they came out of the womb just ready to roar to the world. Like they're just like ready to like take it on and be on top.
No kidding. I
Like,
mean, I feel like our daughters are like those girls that like you see on the news that are protesting,
oh
you
my
know,
God.
with
Oh,
like
if
the signs and they're topless and like
yes.
they're probably on their period, just letting it all go.
And they
They
don't
are,
care.
yeah, refuse to shave. I mean,
It
if you think about it, it's kind of like a repeat of what was that? Like that movement was the hippie movement.
was the
It's the
60s. It was
60s,
like,
right? I thought so.
yeah. And I really see a lot of my daughter in my mom. Because my mom, not that she was kind of on that cusp of the 60s, but my mom kind of has a little bit of that hippie mentality. So when sometimes some of the things my daughter does reminds me of my mom, and it's like kind of that like a little that rebellious, like actually my daughter is very rebellious. So like she's all about like not just breaking the rules, but just like making a stand if something's not right. I
For
guess
what's
that's not
right.
rebellious, but she's
Well,
just
people look at it as being
yeah, that's
rebellious if
not
you don't
rebellious.
fall in line,
Yeah,
but she's really not. Yeah.
no, no, she's not. She knows what's right and what's wrong, and she's sick of seeing what's wrong.
Right. I get that.
At
Mackenzie's
the
the
age
same
of
way.
15.
Yeah, she's fierce already.
I know. And how old's Mackenzie again?
Mackenzie's 13, so she'll be 14 this year. And she already, I mean, her mentality though is already, people tell me all the time how mature she is, the way she
Oh
speaks, the
yeah.
way her ideas and all of these things. And how I think it's emotionally evolved that she is.
Yeah.
But the kid's been through a lot. So
And that's very similar with Caitlin. Caitlin's been through a lot and she's very mature for her age, and her
yes.
thought process is extremely mature. And yeah, you give her the opportunity to like go out and march for a movement. Oh my gosh, she would take it like all the way.
I remember in 2020, whenever everything happened with George Floyd,
Yeah.
it was very, very hard, very
Yes.
hard.
I remember
And
that.
it was just like the worst thing in the world. I mean, it was so heartbreaking. I remember watching it and I mean, I just bawled. Like I cried so hard. I could not believe what I was witnessing. And Mackenzie, I didn't show Mackenzie, but of course she saw it because she has her phone and social
Oh,
media.
Caitlin was all about it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she was like outraged and she was
Hmm.
ready to go down there because Houston did a march too. Everybody, like a lot of major cities were doing
Yeah.
a peaceful protest,
Yes.
for justice and stuff. And the reformation of our law enforcement. And Mackenzie really wanted to go downtown. She was like, we need to go downtown. We have to do this. We have to. And I was just like,
My gosh.
I was
I
like,
know.
baby. And she was young. She was like, what? How old was she? That was like, she was 11.
Yeah, and Kate, because I was thinking Caitlin was Mackenzie's age now during that, because I remember that time with Caitlin.
And yeah,
So,
and I told her, I said, look, this is a very intense time that you don't really
yep,
understand right now. And you know what? If you were a little older,
that's
pack up the car and let's go.
that's exactly what I said to Caitlin. Like, I'll never forget it. but we were in her living room. She's standing there and I'm looking at her. And that's when I just started my chemo. So I just was starting all my stuff. And she looks at me and she's like, Mom, Black men are dying. And she was so emotional and so upset. And I was like, oh, baby girl. I'm like, this is like, I mean, it hit me so hard because I was like, she's actually realizing what's happening in the world. Like, it was like, I didn't expect that as a parent to witness that or to have to, I don't want to say deal because that's a wrong word to say, but to like explain to a child at that age. But then when I look back at it, when you go back to like the Black Lives Matter and all of that, in that culture, they're explaining this stuff when they're little.
Yes. Like think about that. Like, their parents are like, hey, telling their sons, like, imagine if our sons, Jude and Carl, are Black and they're like 3 and 4 and 5 years old. And we're telling them you can't walk in the neighborhood at night.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do these things because you will be profiled. Those parents have been explaining that stuff to their kids since they were itty bitty.
I know.
It's crazy.
So for me to have the shock at, 13 really isn't that, big of a deal. But for me, I guess I just didn't expect to.
Right.
But then when you look at the scheme of everything, this generation's just seeing it and they're just tired of it. And they don't see color. They don't even see gender. Like these generations of kids don't even see female or male, and they don't see like Black, white, like they don't see any of that. They see the person as the person.
Yes, they do. I did have an issue though with Mackenzie where she used to go to school. I just recently switched her schools because the town that we were in was quite honestly really awful, like really, really awful. And there were still a lot of outdated behaviors going on in that town as far as racism, discrimination, things like that.
That's Wausau, I'll be honest. That's exactly where we live now. So
yeah, and it was very difficult because when I told her, I was like, we can't go down to the protests, but I was like, we can do something where we are to bring awareness.
Yeah.
And so she really wanted the BLM mask and all that. And I did. I got whatever she wanted to support. And so she could have her own way of publicly showing this is not right. This is what I stand for. Right.
Right.
And so she started wearing those things to school and stuff like that. And kids got really, really ugly about it. It was crazy to me because I'm like, this is supposed to be Gen Z. Like, they're supposed to be like, we're changing everything. And my mind was still blown that you still have these kids that act just like their ignorant ass parents. And I was like, oh my God. And then it's really odd because she actually ended up making friends with this other circle of kids, which I also had an issue with. Now, they weren't racist, but they were tossing around pronouns and changing their name every day, like you would change your t-shirt.
Yes. Yes.
And Mackenzie started going to the school counselor. And then I also had another outside therapist, like a regular therapist for her, because she went through a lot of things. And then the pandemic was really hard for her, as it was everybody. But I feel like as a child, they don't really know how to process that stuff.
No.
Like, it's more difficult for them because they still don't know who they are.
No, they don't.
They're just trying to figure out their little lives. And so it was just really heavy. And we had been going through some family stuff anyway. And I remember talking to the counselor, and she said to me that she has talked to all kinds of different schools and that no counselor in the history of counseling at a school has ever had this much of an influx of students. She was like, since they came back from the pandemic, it was huge. Wow. She did tell me all these kids started changing their pronouns.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, what? And I don't know if you had to talk to Caitlin about this. I had to talk to Mackenzie about this and tell her, like, this little clique of friends you have, they're toxic. Because even though they even though they might not be racist, you cannot continuously change your pronoun and say you're trans one day and say you're this the next day and do that. I said, do you know how serious that is? I said, people in the trans and LGBTQ, QIA, LMNOP, whatever
Well,
community, like they bust their ass for their rights, you know?
it was almost like a little trend for them. They were like, oh, this is kind of trendy. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. So it was kind of like a trend, instead of being genuine. But at that age, they're still just trying to figure out what they want and who they are.
Right.
And so, I mean, I know that I've gone, Caitlin has hung out with some toxic people in the past, and I've had to interfere and be like, hey, you know what? Their behavior is toxic. You have to choose better people because you are who you surround yourself with. And we have left neighborhoods because of how toxic the neighborhood was. So, and that was honestly the best thing I could have done, because the funny thing with that is that once we left that neighborhood, like Caitlin was a totally different person, like totally different person. So you are who you hang out with. But yeah, a lot of that, because it's like all coming out, like that younger generation, I just feel like they're just like, like in your daughter's situation, they're just like, well, it's cool to be this, it's cool to be that. And you're right. The ones that are like trans or are gay, lesbian, they've worked years to get to where we are today, for it to be even as accepted as it is today. I mean, there is a generation that if you were gay or lesbian or even trans, I mean, you got put into like a mental hospital.
Yeah, it's true. And I had to really sit down with Mackenzie, because the reason why it got so toxic in her little friend circle over there was because that's what they would argue about, like who's pansexual and who's this and who's that and why are they I mean, it just became real yucky.
Yeah, that
And
is yucky.
and I was like, Mackenzie, those kids are dumb as shit. Straight up told her. I was like, and you are better than this.
Yeah,
Said,
she is.
I said, I really had to sit down with her and I said, look, and she's like, you just don't want me to be gay. And I was like, look, I don't give a fuck if you identify as a goddamn potato. I was like, I just want you to be fucking happy.
Right. That's how I am.
I was like, I don't care. And I said, but you have to realize the severity of what you are saying. I said, it's actually very offensive to the people that have lived this. I said, and transgendered people die every day.
I know, it's so scary. I know.
It still happens. Yeah. And I was like, you have no idea. I said, so to say you're this one day and this the next day and then hang around these toxic kids, I said, they're just so ignorant. And I said, and here's the thing, all of you are just trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah, they are. They really are. They're just trying to figure it out.
So I told her, I said, just give yourself time. I said, enjoy your life. Don't try to say I'm this or I'm that. Just be like, I'm still deciding.
Yeah. Well, Caitlin at 15, I mean, we're at that point. I mean, she dated a girl for dated in their terms, for a couple of years, which was actually long term for her age group. And then she liked a boy, and they almost dated, and now she's back into talking into a girl. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever you want, you just be you. Let's not just put a label on it. Let's just do it, and just, whatever makes you happy.
Exactly. That's what I told Mackenzie, because I felt like she just kept trying to fit in somewhere.
Yeah, and you don't need to. You just need to go with your heart.
Yeah. And I feel like as these kids get older, they'll see that. And I feel like the direction that we're moving, it will get there eventually to where people just won't care anymore.
No, which will be wonderful.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they won't expect a label out of you or anything.
No.
I remember Mackenzie had put something on her Instagram bio not too long ago, and it said pansexual. And I started laughing. I said, Mackenzie, why did you put that on there? She's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I just put it on there. I mean, I am. I was like, you are sexually attracted to people. And And you want to get it on one day. We've had these discussions.
Right.
Pansexual is like no like sexual attraction, you know? Like,
Right.
well,
Right.
well, let me fact check myself because
Okay.
I don't want to listen out there
Isn't
being like, she's
isn't
so
that you?
dumb.
Isn't
That's not
it
what.
that you
What?
just don't? Is it pan when you're not attracted to either sex?
Pansexuality is the romantic, emotional, and/or sexual attraction to people regardless of their gender. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So I was okay. So it is like you're attracted to either sex.
Okay.
So like
See,
I guess Caitlin would be considered that right now.
she would be considered that. But you know what?
Oh, she'll probably kill me hearing me talk like this.
Be like, don't listen to this episode, babe. Don't do it.
Right.
You know what? People of any gender identity can and do identify as pansexual. Okay, well then what is it? Now this is one thing. I feel like I just need to keep these definitions or these notes in my phone until I'm fully educated. Because I don't know about you, but when Mackenzie comes home and talks about cisgender or non-binary or this or that, I'm like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Because I just don't like, I don't want to get it wrong. And I never used those terms growing up. You were just a girl or a boy. You were just a girl or a boy. You were just gay or straight. That was it.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but she had put pansexual on her profile. And I was like, but why? I don't know. I just knew that she wasn't that. So, I mean, I don't know, Mel. Sometimes it's so, oh my God.
I'm like looking this up as I'm like, listening to you because I was trying to figure out because I thought there was a pronoun of
Wait,
what. Okay, go on.
hold on. I just wanted to tell you something really fast.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated right now. So I Googled pansexual to fact check myself. And then I realized right here it says, what are the 52 genders?
There's 52 genders.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have a lot of educating to do.
So do I. I am so overwhelmed right now.
Me too. What?
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. No wonder my kid looks at me like I'm like so in the ice age.
Same, mine too. Like she'll like look at me like, how can you be this ignorant? I'm like, nobody ever taught me.
I know, me either. I'm like, seriously? Oh. Yeah.
Like, I wonder.
Oh, here, there is a guide to understanding gender identity and pronouns right here.
Oh my God.
I feel like I need this.
I need to keep that posted somewhere.
Right. Right.
It's like when people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, I have a vagina. I just say I'm a girl or I'm a woman.
I know.
I don't know.
I know. Oh, this actually goes through all the lists of all of it, which is very interesting. I'm
just reading all this. This is nuts.
I know, me
I didn't know there was
too.
that many.
I know, isn't it crazy? Well,
Okay,
no wonder.
This is what it says. Our gender identity is how we feel in relation to being male or female. And there are different terms, descriptions, and labels for different types of gender identities. Okay, so it's not, okay, so there's a difference between your actual anatomy, like your sex, what sex you are, and what gender you are. So gender is more of how you feel, and your genitalia is your
Anatomy.
Yeah, it's your sex.
Okay.
Like what your sex is. What was your sex at birth?
That's what I was gonna say. Is it sex at birth or sex that you choose? Ooh. So it's yeah.
God, now I don't know. Fuck.
Right. Like,
I see. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I just better not speak.
No, right? And smile. That's when you just smile.
I'll be like, you know what? I accept everybody.
I accept everyone.
All inclusive, love and light. Whatever you want, I support it. Just leave
Hell
it
yeah.
And just not speak. That's what I need to do.
I know.
Like, look, I just want everybody to be happy. I don't know.
I know.
Oh
I don't care what flag it is. Just be happy. Let's just all get together and be happy.
No shit. Like, let's just live our dream life, guys. I don't care.
Oh
no.
I know. Yeah. Carl asked me, Mom, was Caitlin always a feminist? And I said, honey, when she came out of that womb, she was burning her bra and underwear like right away.
I love it. I love that so much.
And
It's
he's
so
like,
true.
yeah.
It
He's
is
like,
so
yeah.
true.
But
You
our
have,
boys are different though.
well, yes. Now my son did go through a little something. Was it last year or the year before? And he was like, I think I'm gay. I was
Oh, that's okay.
I was
But
exhausted at that
how old
point.
was right now? How old was he at that point?
He's 10 now. Oh, I think it was last year. He was like 8 or 9. He was like 9, maybe. Yeah, he was
Well,
9.
that was around the time when Caitlin came out. Was around like 8 or 9 was when she first started really kind of saying that she liked girls. I mean, she's dating, she's interested in a boy now. So, I mean, well, no, a girl now. Sorry. Dang, I get all confused.
Like I can't keep up. Well, you know what? I don't know. He just said it and I was like, but like, are we sure? Because
Right.
he listens to his, well, he was like, well, maybe not gay, but like bisexual. I was like, half gay, whatever you want to call it. And he was just like, yeah, but he was listening to his sister a lot and he really idolizes her like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, okay. I said, well, whatever you want. I said, but give yourself some time to figure it out, you know? And so anyway, he went through, poor thing, he kind of went through some stuff with this one friend of his, and his little boy was like his best friend at school. And he ended up telling him that he liked him. And the boy freaked out and didn't talk to him
No.
anymore. Yeah, it really hurt Jude's
Oh.
feelings. And I know,
Oh.
I got really sad. I'm gonna start crying thinking about it. But I told him, I said, it's okay. I said, I go, it's okay. You don't have to get upset. I know it hurts your feelings. I was trying to comfort him the best way I could because I just didn't know how
Right.
to comfort him with this. And because he still had to see this kid,
Yeah.
it's not like being an
Yeah.
adult, we can cut somebody out of our lives and be like, bye. I mean, he still
Yeah.
has to see this fucking kid.
Right.
So I was like, it's okay. Try to make other friends, blah, blah, blah. And then later he came to me and he was like, Mom, I don't think I'm gay. I don't know. I think I just said it. I said, look, you're attracted to your friends. That's why they're your friends. I said, it's
Yeah.
just a different kind of attraction. You like their personality. You like
Yeah.
who they are as a person. I said, there's
Yeah.
different levels of attraction. Doesn't always have to be
Yeah.
romantic.
No.
And so I really had to explain that difference to him. And when he caught it, he was just like, oh, okay. And then like the next year, I don't know I don't know how descriptive I can get with this. And
Just do it.
I don't know if you've caught Carl yet.
Oh, I can wait until I start talking about Carl, but go on. Because let me tell you, Carl is a boob guy. So go on with your story with Jude, and I will start talking about Carl.
Because I didn't know what he did. Oh, I took his phone or something because I would charge their stuff in my room at night so they won't stay up late.
Right.
And like I go into the living room and he's got the Alexa and he's like looking at something on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And he's excited. And
Oh
you
yeah.
can clearly see it through his underwear.
Oh
and I
yeah.
was like my eyes got so big. I was like, Jim, what are you doing?
Oh, just wait. Oh my gosh. So Carl is a total boob guy, like all the way. And
Oh God.
I know. So we and I say we as his father and I start getting a phone call. We got our first phone call from the school in 5th grade. Or maybe it was at 4th. I don't want to say 4th, maybe 4th, 5th grade. Okay, let's just put it out there. And there was stuff on his phone that he should not have had. So obviously we went through his phone. He's clearly a boob guy. He likes boobs.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
And so we had to sit down and talk to him about the difference between what porn is and what real sex is, and that they're not like the same. And like it's okay to be attracted because obviously you have this strong attraction to women, but women have, we went through like this is like there's one thing about being lusting and being attractive to someone, and there's another thing to actually see someone as a person. And it's
Right.
important to see the person. I mean, these are people. These
Yeah.
are like what you're seeing. I mean, these people are moms, daughters, sisters. I'm like, oh, trust me, when we said sisters or when I said sisters, he looked at me like right away he thought of his sister. He's like, ew.
That's a good way to get your point across.
I know. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I'm like, I have the opportunity to look at this stuff anytime I want, but it's not healthy. And I don't do it. I don't choose to in my life. So I went through that whole thing too with them. So, he's doing good with it. But there was a moment last year when I just had to like get a hold of him or something happened. I just walked in his room. And I knew something like I startled him, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. So he's like, Mom, you can't just be walking in my room. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm sorry. He's like, you got to knock. I'm like, all right. So I go back and I sit down, and I was going through chemo at the time. So I was laying down on the couch. And he comes over and he sits down in the chair next to me. He's like, Mom, I'm just going to be real. You walked in on me when I was masturbating.
Oh my God.
He's like, you have to knock. And my face, I was like, what? 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 Are you serious? And he's like, yes. He's like, you can't just walk in, Mom. And I'm like, I'm not walking in. I'm like, I will knock now.
Oh my God. That is fucking hilarious. He was so honest with you about it.
So
He was
honest.
like, look, here's my
Oh my God.
boundaries.
I
This is
know.
what I was doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's this generation so open that way. He's like,
They
this
really
is what
are.
it is.
They
So,
really are.
I don't know how like good of a parenting move this was, but during that time, just to kind of, because it was really stressful when the school called and and looking at his phone, and then me almost walking in and on him. Actually, I did walk in on him. I just wasn't aware of what he was doing. Thank God. I had to bring light to the situation. So we were at Spencer's, which my kids love Spencer's. And there's this shirt, because if you know Spencer's, you all know like the type of shirts that they have there.
Oh God. Yeah.
And so I'm very selective when my kids are like, I want that shirt. I'm like, oh, we can wear that shirt. I'm like, my rule is if you can wear it to school, I'll buy it for you.
Oh,
So
good rule.
that's a rule. So, but there's the shirt that said, I love boobs on it. And
oh my God.
I bought it as a joke. It still hasn't returned my house. It's still at his dad's house. But I'm like, because his dad and I were so like stressed out over this, like we were kind of bickering on the side. And it was just like such a stressful time just trying to figure out how to deal with this and how to make it seem like he's not a bad person for having these feelings, but there are
Mm-mm.
some boundaries and there are ways to see this. Like, I don't want him
Right.
seeing women and only in a sexual way. Like, he needs to see women as individuals.
Right.
So I bought him the shirt and he was like, Mom, I am not wearing this. I'm like, all you have to do is wear it for when your dad picks you up.
Oh my God.
So he totally did that. He hasn't worn the shirt since, but yeah, sure enough, he like his dad comes and picks him up, pulls up in the driveway, and I could kind of see it. His dad's just dying laughing. And he gets in the car. And I had to shed light on it because it's like, I mean, we can't teach our children that these feelings are bad. We just have to like kind of mold them to know what's right and wrong. And I'm sorry, but thinking like a girl's chest, boobs is not wrong.
No, and I agree. It's you just have to find a balance with it. And I was just thinking that too, because when I caught Jude, he was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, that's a girl in the video. And I'm pretty
I know.
sure, little bud isn't bi, but even if he was, I wouldn't care. He was a dude on the
Right.
video. But I
Right.
was just like, and I tried to tell him, like, and he gets very embarrassed. So I tried to tell him that's normal and you're going to discover things about your body. You're going to want to
Yeah.
touch things on your body and figure it out. It's fine. It's normal. It's healthy to do that. And he's like, I'm really uncomfortable. I want you to stop talking.
Oh, Carl was the opposite. Carl was like, let's sit down and have this conversation. And I was as present as I possibly could. And I was like, okay, let's talk. And I was like thinking to myself, oh dear God, just help me get through this moment.
Oh my God. And see, the Kinsey is finally coming around where she will talk about that. Hopefully Jude will too one day. But
He will. He totally
um,
will.
I actually told both of them, I was like, look, if you want to give yourself a little self-love, because that's what we call it around here. I
Yeah.
was like, that's fine. You just go to your room, excuse yourself, and just say, no, you don't go to my room. And just go to your room and
Yeah.
do your thing. And
Yeah.
so it's funny that you say that when you just walked in, because I'm trying to be more consciously aware now that my kids are getting older to
Yes.
really knock on the door.
Yes, me
You
too.
need to knock on the door.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I'm also going to need them to knock on my door. Just because, like, I'll literally be standing there butt ass naked, which I mean, I don't care. I mean,
I
whatever.
know.
But it's like, you're the one that's really going to freak out.
I know.
But I'm
I
like,
know.
they just barge around, hey, mom. And I'm like, they're like, oh my God, it's your ass. Oh my God, it's your boobs. And I'm like, you didn't knock.
I know. That's my Carl right there. He freaks out. However, Caitlin was after my double mastectomy and all of that, she was actually very curious with everything. So I was open with her, and she came to a doctor's appointment with me, and kind of saw what my surgery was and what I went through. Which I hesitated on doing that because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to scar her, but she was so interested in it. I was like, well, she's having all these other like interests that on a doctor level, it would be
Mhm.
okay.
No, yeah, I think that's really good though. I think
Yeah.
that's cool that she's doing that. And
Yeah.
I just feel like what I'm trying to do whenever like stuff like this comes up about the gender thing or things that we don't really know much about or we're not so educated on, uh, and even, the topics of racism and diversity,
Yeah.
and sexuality, I really try my best before I respond. I really try to process it as a parent first.
Me too. And I think that's like number one as a parent to do with this generation.
Yeah, you just have to just let it gel before you react
Right.
because we are, you know, conditioned in a different way than our children are
But we're
typically.
raised so differently.
Well, yeah, exactly.
We're
Like,
raised so differently.
I mean, I remember my mom, she was kind of crude at times. Like, whenever I started my period, she was just like, tossed a box of tampons at me and said, read the instructions. And I just didn't, and it was very unsettling to me and very kind of scary for me. And I didn't know anything about my vagina. I didn't know anything. And I didn't like the picture on there. I was really grossed out. I was just like, and now I'm thinking, I would never do that to Mackenzie. Like, I would never do that.
I remember when that time was coming, and I knew Caitlin's was going to come early because mine came early. So I prepared her because I'm like, my worst fear as a parent is like, I didn't want her to start while she was at school
Yes, exactly.
and not, be scared and like afraid. And so, like, prior to that, I'm like, seriously, we sat down and I got Google out and I Googled pictures and we went through the whole like anatomy and what happens and how to use a tampon and how to use a pad. And then that school year, because I remember doing it in the summer. So I prepped her for that school year. I think it was like fourth grade, and then I prepped her for fifth grade. I put like a care package together in her backpack. And I was like, for here on out, you carry this in your backpack because if anything, when you start having it, you're going to need something. And sure enough, it happened at school.
See, I love that because you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I buy an abundance of pads for her and I don't let her, well, I don't want her using tampons right now because
Yeah.
she can, that to me, I wish my mother wouldn't have done that to me.
Yeah, I
That
use
that
pads first too. Yeah,
yeah, that's like for a more mature woman, or if you're a little
right,
older or heavier periods or whatever. That's just
right.
how I feel when they're so little, when they start so little.
I
I'm like,
know.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't want her to have to do that.
Yeah,
And so I did the same. I bought a lot of pads and I was like, you're gonna keep
yeah.
this amount on you and this amount at home. And I even drew out like a uterus and ovaries and I
Oh,
drew it.
I got Google out. I was like showing her like professional pictures of it all. I'm like, I got my laptop up and she was like, oh my God, Mom. I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah, I did. I was like, look, I'm gonna sketch it out for you and I'm gonna show you physically how this happened.
Yeah.
Because you know what's really crazy? And you're gonna be like, what the fuck? But I did not know until I was in my early 20s. And I think I was just about out, I was pregnant with Mackenzie or right around that time. And I was in an office full of women and I overheard them talking. And one of them's like, yeah, someone really needs to, I mean, needs to educate these young teen moms that get pregnant when they're teenagers. It's like when you have your period, that means that you're a woman and you're capable of getting pregnant. And
Yeah.
Mel, I never knew that. I never knew that till I was in my 20s about to have my like first child.
Ash, that's so scary.
My mom never explained that to me. Never. I
Really?
never knew it. I never knew why we had a period. My mom just said, oh, it's just toxins that a woman has to get out of her body. And I was like, what?
What?
Never fucking knew the real deal why. It was so insane to me. Like,
Oh, I told Caitlin right away. She has an aunt with like 6 kids. I'm like, once you start having a period, this is why Auntie Amber got pregnant at 15. I was real.
you're like, and she didn't stop.
And she didn't stop. And her eyes got all big. She's like, oh,
I told my kids already, it's like, I don't want to be a grandmother unless
not
it's
yet.
to your animals.
Right.
So I was thinking, even when my son gets older, I want to tell him, like, look, you
Oh,
gotta be
yeah.
careful. You gotta be careful with that thing. Because me and you talked about the whole birth control, when would be a suitable age. And the other day, and I actually had a conversation with Mackenzie, and I said, look, when you turn 14, I want to take you and get you on birth control. But I also know that ovarian cancer, breast cancer, stuff like that runs in our family. And
Yes.
my mom died of ovarian cancer. And
Yeah.
so I get like a routine ultrasound annually with my pap smear.
Mhm.
And my doctor always told me, he was also my mother's doctor, and he had also told me staying on birth control really helps you. He goes,
Yeah.
it's really going to help prevent any of
Yep.
that. And so I got the IUD, which I love. And of
Mhm.
course, I'm not going to start Mackenzie on that. She doesn't need that young.
Yeah.
But I was literally thinking about that, not just because of sex, but her periods are painful to her because I had very
That
painful periods.
that's what happened with Caitlin. And Caitlin was getting really heavy periods too. And right away after I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I mean, I got her in and I was like, I talked to her doctor, which is wonderful. And I was like, this is my fear. I'm like, I had these heavy, heavy periods. My
Yes.
cancer was estrogen driven. I know through research that being on birth control for long periods of time can, help these levels. I want to prevent anything for my daughter. And we tried birth control, like the pill in the past, and it didn't work because she's so young and it's just hard for her to stay on that schedule.
Right.
But we got her on the Depo shot, which I used to be on the Depo shot, and it worked great for me, and it's working great for her. So
Yeah.
I think it's important.
I did the depot shot too after I had you. So that I did that for a while. And then I just had gotten so busy, and then I wasn't on birth control for what didn't matter because I wasn't having sex. But
Yeah.
I
You're
just
on your own birth control.
yeah, I was like abstinence. So
Yeah.
I kind of grin and bear it, but then my periods really did start to get worse again.
Yeah, they
And
do.
it was to the point where it felt like giving birth. My uterus, I
Yeah.
would contract.
Yeah.
I had to like bend. Well, it's like you
I
bend
know.
over, you're holding something, you're like, I'm gonna give birth to something.
Mine was that bad too. Mine
Yes.
were horrific. And especially when I hit 40, mine got really bad. And then when I found the cancer, I was like, oh my God, this all makes sense. This
Mm-hmm.
all makes sense. So,
Yes.
no, and plus, the whole like if when your child starts being interested in having sex, I think it's very, very important to have that open communication. Kayla and I just recently went through with one of her friends that she had sex for the first time, and this girl like didn't couldn't feel comfortable enough to go to her mother. And when she had sex with
Oh.
this boy, he ended up coming inside of her, basically.
Oh my
And she
God.
was freaked out. She's totally freaked out and wanting the morning after pill or whatever because she wasn't on birth control, couldn't go to mom, couldn't, was reaching out through Caitlin. Caitlin's like, Mom, can you do anything? I'm like, honey, as much as I want to, that's over, that's stepping my boundaries. I can't do that. So
Yeah.
I gave her some, resources as far as like the Planned Parenthood here in town and just a couple of resources for this young girl. But I just think it's so important as a parent to keep that communication open because you do not want to be in that situation with that, your daughter. And honestly, this girl is 15 years old, and I don't want to be a grandma at 15.
No.
Or have my daughter be, a mother at 50 and me be a grandma.
Look, I told my kids already, I was like, I don't want grandkids, period. I don't care
Yeah.
if it's
I'm like,
now or if I'm 70. I don't want grandkids. And they're looking at me like, what kind of evil ass mother does not want their children to program? I'm like, no. I'm like,
well, I'll be honest, I want grandkids. And I even told Caitlin at the time when she was choosing to be with a girl, I'm like, if this is your life, like long thing, if you want to be with a woman and you end up adopting, I'm just putting the grandma like tidbit in and I want a mixed grandbaby. I want a mixed little girl and I actually would prefer a black little girl, I'll be honest. And that's what I want as my grandbaby, just saying.
that is so funny.
I've
That is
always
so
wanted
funny.
one that I could just sit down and braid her hair. I want to be that grandma braiding my granddaughter's hair.
You are so funny. Oh my God.
I know. And Ashley's like, no grandbabies.
I would be honestly, I know I sound like a hard ass. I mean, of
No.
course my kids can have kids. I'm not gonna be that terrible,
Yeah.
but I guess what it is I started thinking about it and I was like, I worry enough about my kids. I gotta worry about my grandkids. Like I'm
Yeah,
just
you
gonna be
do.
walking around a ball full of nerves.
I know. I know. I know. I
It's like,
know.
Jesus, I can't, my heart can't handle this. My blood pressure.
I I know. I'm already feeling it from both grandmas, like, Caitlin's grandma Lala and her grandma Mama, from both sides of the family. Like, they both expressed to me how she's going to be driving soon and how they're really worried that their little girl, because they both see Caitlin in the same eye. Like, Caitlin is their everything. And they just have a special place in their heart for Caitlin. And they're like, oh, she's going to be driving. Like, I'm getting it from both grandmas. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
you guys, she's going to be great. She's going to be good.
I know. I know.
But that's how life is. That's how it is.
That's
You
so
just have that
true.
love. It's that love.
And what I was thinking too, I feel like the both of us, when we have, since we both have one of each, I was thinking how important it is because there was something I read recently in the news. And I feel really compelled to share this. It happened locally in Houston. There was a woman that went out with her friend, and there was a guy at this bar, whatever they were at. He got her a drink, and she literally took a drink. She got the drink, and that was the last thing she remembered.
Oh God, these are horror stories. Yes.
Right. But she ended up like waking up at home. Some of her belongings were missing. She was missing a tooth. She
What?
was she was like kind of roughed up, and she had noticed that she had been possibly raped.
Oh
So
my God.
the article was shared from a news station on Facebook. The comment section was disgusting because it was like, she should have done this. What was she wearing? What was she doing? Where
Oh,
was
that's
her friend?
bullshit.
Where was this? Why would she go out? Why was she? This is why you stay home. I mean, it was just so awful. And you should never do this and never. And I'm like, okay, how about let's teach our boys, our men, to stop fucking doing this shit.
Well, and how about people in general? Because if you look at Jeffrey Dahmer here in Milwaukee, he was drugging men and taking them home. And it didn't matter what sex you, I mean, not sex, but what, what you identified as, if you were like gay or straight, he was drugging you and taking you home.
That's very true.
It goes to our boys too. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like crazies out there that, I mean, and I'll never forget my stepfather was investigator in California, and there was a unfortunate situation where a boy went into the bathroom, a young boy went into the bathroom and he was murdered while the mom was standing outside. And the guy who did it just walked out of the bathroom like he was in Joe Schmo, and she's standing there waiting for her son to come out. And nothing until she went in and saw her son.
Oh my God.
So there are like crazies on both ends. So I've always felt like it's not just our girls, which I protect Caitlin with all my everything because she's like drop dead gorgeous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm putting you in a bubble. But it's like our sons too, Ash.
I know.
Like our sons.
Well, and I just want to like teach them.
Yeah.
Both of them. Like, look, you need to be very self-aware, be aware of your surroundings, but also like, let's teach our kids to be better so this shit doesn't happen.
Right.
Like let's be better. Let's be better as parents. And I mean, I was just thinking how sometimes that mom probably got shamed. Why would you let your son go into the bathroom by himself? Why would you do this? Why would you?
Right.
People have a tendency of shaming other people or victim shaming. And it's so fucking terrible. And it's just like, let's just teach, men and women, or let's raise our children, to not be these terrible people. How about that?
Agree. 100%. And, a lot of these, because Caitlin likes the true crime stuff, and we watch Bailey Serum. She's on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever watched her. She's super cool, but she does makeup and murder mystery. So while she's doing her makeup, she talks about all these murders. Oh,
I did.
I love her, by the way.
Her. I think I saw she had like a TikTok or something.
She probably does.
I did. I saw one of hers. Yes.
So she's beautiful. She's like, she has it down. Her makeup tips are amazing. I've gotten so many makeup tips from her, but she always talks about the history, like the family upbringing of these crazy people that do these major things. And majority of these crazies that, end up killing or doing all this disgusting stuff, the common denominator on every single one of them is their upbringing.
I know, I'm telling you.
Is their upbringing. So it's almost like as a parent, and maybe there might be that weird 1%, that it's not the parents, but majority of the time it has a lot to do with the upbringing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and if you can't handle having children, figure it out. Like give it up, do something. I don't know.
Or get some help.
Get help. Yes. Well, that's why when I told you, I think it was like the last episode we were talking, I was like, I wish I was just more healed when I became a parent. Because it's so important. But I will say this, Mel, our kids are watching us, and when they see us putting in an effort to learn, to do better, to heal, it speaks volumes to them. They see it.
I
agree. Kids see that. Totally so agree. Any of our listeners out there who are struggling with this or questioning themselves or feeling guilty about, how they've handled situations with their kids, it's like, just work on yourself and try to heal. And they see that, and they're going to remember it, and they're going to appreciate it in the long run.
And they follow the process too. If they see you're healing, then they understand the process of healing, the process of bettering themselves, that they will follow suit.
Yes. That is absolutely 100% true.
Because I've always believed you got to lead, like as an example for your children. You can't like be an alcoholic and tell your kids not to drink alcohol. I'm sorry, you can't do it. That's not parenting. You can't
Yeah.
parent like that. It doesn't work.
No, my mom tried. She failed miserably.
Yeah.
She's like, do as I say, not as I do. And then we do all this stuff. And I'm like, okay.
I come from that same generation, hands down. It's so true.
I'm like, that's a really lazy form of parenting.
It is. Yeah, it
So-
is. So like if you want your, you know, if you want your kids to be a certain way, you gotta do it too.
Yeah, practice what you preach, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're seeing you.
I feel like this is a great topic to
I
speak on
know.
today. I love it so
know.
much.
I know.
Again, I'm going to leave all of our contact information in the show notes. If you have any questions or any of our listeners out there have any issues or anything they want discussed, or you can even be anonymous when you write it, we'll include our email, ways to contact us, and y'all can reach out and let us know any of your parenting questions or issues that you want spoken about, and we will read them on air.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.